This is Dr. David D. Schein, and welcome to this special Saving America panel discussion on mass violence in America and what we can all do about it. And we've got some terrific panelists today. Dr. Heather Williamson specializes in performance management, organizational development through Transformation Group, LLC. For the past 14 years, she has worked with a diverse array of clients in an effort to provide the highest quality executive coaching so her clients can create high-performing teams. She's the #1 best-selling author for her book, Magnetic Trust: How Great Leaders Keep Top Performers and Get Extraordinary Results. She also provides leadership tips and strategies on her new YouTube channel. Dr. Williamson earned her BS, MS, and PhD in psychology from Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia. Dr. Williamson has been active and held leadership roles in many associations, including the Powhatan Chamber of Commerce and Executive Women's International. She is a returning guest to Saving America.
Thank you very much, David, for the amazing introduction and to really be a part of this team. I really am coming from, because of my psychology background, really focusing on the mental health aspect of why we see so many murders in the United States. And amazingly enough, and which is really sad, is that, you know, there have been so many instances. In a lot of the instances, yes, the person may have been diagnosed and been on some kind of antidepressant, which, believe it or not, I had recently read an article, and 97.8% of mass shootings also really occur in gun-free zones, as because obviously people know that they're not going to have anybody come really fight them against this. And also with the antidepressants, it's really the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors that are really causing these challenges. And there is, if you look at the labels of, let's say, Prozac, or there's another one called Effexor, on the warning labels of this in the literature, in the information packet, they are actually known for suicidal ideation, violence, and homicidal ideation. They're all known side effects. So you wonder if why mental health is not being looked at more frequently, or, you know, that's so common to say, all right, well, it's either the gun or the vehicle that's causing the murders, but it's really comes down to the individual. And for whatever reason, there are also signs that these individuals are really not where they need to be with regard to their mental health. For example, Virginia Tech shooter, we remember that. That was back in 2007, and it was, and I'm gonna pronounce his name wrong, but Sung Kyu Cho. And he unfortunately killed 32 people and wounded 17. But there were signs long before that this happened where it could have been addressed. He could have been, you know, people could have taken the initiative and really stepped in. And he had symptoms of depression and anxiety and concentration. And he was actually treated as a young adult. But he had stages, he had signs where he had posted and written in school assignments that he wanted to repeat Columbine. He was a junior in college, and he had written professors and classroom behavior where professors said that it was disturbing. There were also instances where he was investigated by the university police for stalking and harassing female students. And there is, I call it, they're calling it indicators, but it's the critical aggression prevention system, indicators of emerging aggression. And they stated in this article, which if you really look at all the different things that, for instance, he did, or just recently the Valdez school shooter, Salvador Ramos, You know, he was a bully, he was bullied, and he was a loner, and he actually bullied as well. He had stopped attending school regularly. He made ominous messages on social media. He, just hours before the shooting, that he was going to kill his grandmother and shoot up an elementary school. He cut his face for fun. He would shoot at random people with BB guns. So there are signs that the people who are going to commit this horrific crime have challenges, but nothing is being done about it, really. I mean, they may get diagnosed, they may not. He was not. He was he was gone as undiagnosed with a mental health condition, and even had been arrested at 14 for planning an attack, the same attack that he committed. And just for example, Darrell Brooks Jr., the Waukesha, Wisconsin. I mean, he plowed an SUV into a Christmas parade, killing 5 and wounding 60 other people. He also had a criminal past and posted anti-police rhetoric on social media. So there are signs that these individuals are really hurting and that they really need help, but there's nobody taking action, which I think is really very sad. And so why don't people take action? It's because, one, they don't know what to look for, or 2, they don't see it as in their best interest to take action or do anything about it. Or maybe they think that they could become a victim if they do step in and try to prevent harm. And one other thing to really consider, I think, is really the loss of God in today's society. If you look at churches these days, and there's plenty of information out there. In fact, I looked it up before this. Church attendance is decreasing. In a Gallup poll, just a recent one, in 2020, 47% of people attended church. And this is whether it's a synagogue, church, or mosque. 2018, 50%. And then 1999, 70%. So, and this is really because there's no real affiliation or preference for any kind of specific church to attend. So it's at its all-time historic low. And when you break it down, 36% of millennials, this is affecting, where they have no religious affiliation, 50% of baby boomers, and 50% of Gen X. So the millennials, are really struggling with this. And it's because there's a declining role of religion in elementary schools and secondary education. There's also higher ed. There's an increasing hostile environment, really, when it comes to expressing religion, and also when it comes to Christianity. We see this consistently. And when you think about the wokeness in church these days, so I just saw on Sunday, maybe it was, where the Episcopal, this has happened a couple months ago, but the Episcopal Church is now talking about reparations. And then there's a Catholic bishop was taking away the Catholic charter, let's say, because it was raising the LGBT and the BLM flags on their Catholic school campus. So it's the undermining of values. I think people these days are not, the church isn't providing the value system that they personally have. And so there's that lack of God in people's lives, because, where are they going to go to get it? And in addition to just the psychiatric impact of medication out there and how it is impacting the people these days. An interesting fact that I thought it was, in 1989, just 2 years after Prozac came to market, Joseph Westbecker shot 20 of his co-workers, killing 9. And then he'd been on Prozac for 1 month, and then the survivors end up suing. But then 2 decades later, between 1988 and 2008, antidepressants use in the US rose by 400%. And by 2010, 11% of the US population over the age of 12 were on an antidepressant prescription. So, in some cases, I think it's just easy to say, if you have these 5 symptoms, you're express anxiety, or you're withdrawn, or you are feeling worthless, sadness, that all in the DSM-5 categories, the assessments, then, you must be depressed. And if you have experienced this in most of the day or every day for 2 or more weeks, it's kind of hard to make that assessment when you don't know what's going on in the person's life that may be causing this. You got to get to the root cause. So just something to think about. And when it comes to the majority of the patients who receive that depression diagnosis and then the prescriptions afterwards, it's if people stay on it and they don't learn the coping skills that are needed in order to think a more positive life or take action to, get maybe the people that are causing you depression or causing you to feel like your self-worth is low out of your life, and surround yourself with more positive people and talk to people. There are people who just don't want to talk to you. The person doesn't feel like the person wants to hear that I'm not happy. And you don't want anybody to do the harm that has been happening in the world lately.
Well, I think that's a very good conclusion, is that we certainly need to take some action. Thank you so much for joining us. And this has been a special edition of Saving America regarding how Americans can address the issue of mass violence. This is Dr. David D. Schein. We really appreciate you joining us. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite platform.